All right, hey there, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith here on our Fox 10 Gulf Stream and on fox10tv.com with another edition of Next Weather. And I want to talk a little bit about what is this PTC thing that people are talking about on TV, a potential tropical cyclone. What is that? I thought they were called hurricanes, not cyclones. Well, a tropical cyclone and a hurricane is the same thing. In our hemisphere, they're called hurricanes. When they get over into the Pacific, especially over past the international date line, they become cyclones. That's what they're called, but they're all cyclones. They spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, clockwise in the southern hemisphere, and just basically means an area of low pressure, a tropical system that's organized. It has a closed center of circulation. And so when there's the potential of a tropical cyclone, that means we basically have an organizing tropical disturbance. It's still a very weak system. It's a very disorganized system, but it may be getting better organized. And it looks like at this point that some form of tropical storm or hurricane development is likely. So the problem we've had before is that we'll have something that's about to impact land. It could be 2 to 3 days away or less, so 72 hours in advance. And if it's going to ramp up rapidly or create a substantial impact. Let's take potential tropical cyclone number 1, for example. Primary threat's flooding, but we expect flooding in Texas and Louisiana, and some of that may spill over into our area somewhat. So there's the potential to need to go ahead and issue advisories and warnings early. So the advisories give you a location, a track, a timeline. It can show you when we expect the center of the circulation to move over an area. And if there needs to be a tropical storm warning or a hurricane warning, those can be issued in advance. And the current setup is for a minimal tropical storm, but the thing to prepare for folks, especially in Texas and Louisiana, will be possible flooding. So that's why we have a potential tropical cyclone. It's there simply to get the information flowing from the National Hurricane Center, even if it's not technically a thing. There have been many times when we have a tropical disturbance that is not technically a depression or a storm, but it can create similar impacts. And in this case, it may form. It's got a brief window of opportunity. So let's take a look at that here on Next Weather. And we want to look first at what is going on now. And so potential tropical cyclone number 1, there is a big burst of cold cloud tops off of Houston. That is not the center. That's a little to the north and east of the center. So the center is about right here. And there is some wind shear. This is not a classic upper environment. And so it's pushing some of that moisture away from the center. And guess what direction that is? Towards us. So we're getting the moisture off of it across our part of the Gulf Coast. We think that the center is going to move over Louisiana on Wednesday night. Okay, that means it's a little closer to us. So we're going to see more of a southerly flow, and then we're still got the upper flow pattern that's bringing the mid-level moisture our way. And some low-level moisture too. Heavy rain here, isolated tornadoes here and to our west. Anytime you have a landfalling tropical system, it's possible to have enough spin for brief spin-up tornadoes. We will see some rough surf in the Gulf and a high rip current danger, and we also have the risk of coastal flooding. If it gets a name, and it may, the name would be Arthur. We're not calling it that yet. We're just calling it potential tropical cyclone number 1. Potential tropical systems and tropical depressions get numbers. Tropical storms and hurricanes get names. Once it gets to 40 miles per hour, closed low-level center, it gets a name. We may see that. So that's a look at the upper pattern. Definitely looks like something's trying to get going. It's a little elongated, but it can happen. And we can actually see the spin on radar. And these are the current particulars. So you get an advisory, you have a location. They're saying that it's located 15 miles south-southeast of Corpus Christi. So that would be about right there. Perhaps over the Gulf or right on the beach. And if you look here, you can kind of see some of the showers are going this way, and then some of these showers are going that way, but it's not perfectly well organized. There's a couple of vortices in here, but you're looking at the beginnings of low pressure beginning to develop. The pressure's not that low. It's 1,004 millibars. When it starts getting below 1,000, you probably got something. All right, the water temperatures are in the low 80s to about 83-ish degrees. That's enough to support the development of a tropical storm. We wouldn't see an explosion with that, especially as shallow as the water is. The warm layer is only about so deep. It's kind of like when you go out to the Gulf this time of the year and you get out, you know, between the sandbars where it's maybe so deep that you can't touch. It feels cooler at your feet than it does at your chin. And it does that in a lake too. You notice it even more because the water's not turning over as much. And so the water is not warm with great depth, and there's not as much oceanic heat content, but there may be enough to create a minimal tropical storm. And that's what we're talking about here. So the forecast models, most of the models say it's going to hug the Texas coast. If it's interacting with the coastline, it's probably not going to get that strong, but we've seen storms before that kind of hug the coast and there's just enough juice to get them going. Tropical Storm Allison's one that stands out in my mind, that hugged the Texas coast, and then the remnants actually came right over us, and it was able to stay intact even with the center over land just because it was pulling the moisture in off the Gulf. The remnants will move up into northern Mississippi and northern Alabama, and eventually will dissipate because it's not going to be over land very long. As far as the potential for tropical development, it looks like we might, according to the official track, have a tropical depression late tonight and a tropical storm tomorrow, maybe, coming back ashore somewhere around Beaumont or Galveston, maybe Lake Charles. If this were to occur, we would be getting the wet side right in through here, because counterclockwise rotation, that means that the wind is going to be coming in off the Gulf, and that will build up storm tides 1 foot above normal, maybe 2 feet. Tides above normal, heavy rain, rough surf, rip currents, maybe a few isolated tornadoes. The primary issue with this one would be flooding. We didn't see much rain the first 4 months of the year. We had a historic drought. May, 17.2 inches. I hope June's not that wet. But we may see 5 to 7 inches of rain in our area. If you actually look at the legend, and we've already seen 3 to 5 inches in some spots. This color right here, this brown, that's the 7 to 10 inch shading. So what it's telling us is that, for the most part, we're looking at 5 to 10 inches of rain in our area in the next 7 days. Hopefully we don't see that much. But Thursday looks like the wettest day. And this is just the very beginning of the tropical season. We're at the very beginning of it. We're right here, about towards the middle of June. Things usually are pretty quiet, and then this is what's normally go time. Now, we're hopeful that El Nino will be kicking in, and that will make it more of a hostile environment, and that maybe the peak of the season won't be as bad, but it only takes one. All that upper level wind shear created by El Nino has to do is relax for a couple of days, and we got a major hurricane, so we'll be watching out for that. But the primary threat of potential tropical cyclone number 1 is going to be flooding rains, and it's just, you know, an organizing tropical disturbance. It means that we're probably going to have some kind of organization. This will likely pass to our west, but it will have an impact in our area directly and indirectly as it interacts with a frontal zone. So that's what we're seeing with potential tropical cyclone number 1. That's what a potential tropical cyclone is, and that's what we're seeing in your forecast. Thanks for joining us for Next Weather.